Welcome dear friends to my video lecture on Paper 1, NET Paper 1, Unit 6, Logical Reasoning. This seems to be a relatively easier and a smaller one, but the concepts may be new for some of us. So let us delve deeper into the subject matter and let me explain all the concepts related to these topics as well as some expected questions. I hope you are enjoying all my videos. This video also will be enjoying. So welcome to my video lecture just now. Dear friends, this is Unit 6, UGC NET Logical Reasoning, Structure of Arguments, Deductive Reasoning and Inductive Reasoning, Venn Diagram, Indian Logic. So 4 aspects, but then very deep aspect, no doubt about it. Lot of questions, very important questions are also there. Let us analyze the concept as well as some of the expected questions here in this video. Structure of arguments in logical reasoning. Logical reasoning is a fundamental component of critical thinking and problem solving. It involves the systematic analysis and evaluation of arguments to determine their validity and soundness. The structure of arguments plays a pivotal role in this process as it provides a framework for understanding and assessing the rationality of the claims and conclusions put forth. This video explores the essential concepts related to the structure of arguments in logical reasoning, including premises, conclusions, validity, soundness, and common argument forms. What do you mean by premise in logic? Premises are the foundational elements of any argument. They are just statements but meaningful statements. They are the statements or propositions put forward to support a particular claim or conclusion. In logical reasoning, premises can take various forms, including factual statements, general principles, or conditional statements. The validity and reliability of an argument often depend on the quality of its premises, in other words, meaningful sentences. Here are some key considerations regarding premises. It should have clarity. Premises should be clear and unambiguous. No two meanings, in a sentence. It should give only one idea. That is the point here. Ambiguity or vagueness can introduce uncertainty into the argument and weaken its structure. Then it should be relevant. Premises should be relevant to the conclusion they are intended to support. Irrelevant premises can lead to a flawed or wrong argument. Then it should be sufficient also. The premises should provide enough evidence to support the conclusion. That is called the sufficiency of the premise. If the premises are insufficient, the argument may be weak. Then the premise should be consistent. Consistency means what? Premises should not contradict each other. Internal consistency is vital, important for the soundness of an argument. Then conclusions. The conclusion of an argument is the claim that the argument seeks to establish or prove. Of course, these are all concepts, but later on slowly we are coming to the examples also. Don't worry about it. Whatever you understand, please understand. Just after a few minutes you will be getting all sorts of examples. Anyhow, we will give the theory at the moment. The conclusion of an argument is the claim that the argument seeks to establish or to prove. It is the result of drawing inferences from the premises. The structure of the conclusion is crucial because it should follow logically from the premises. What are the key aspects of conclusions? They include logical inference. The conclusion should be a logical consequence of the premises. In other words, the argument should establish a connection between the premises and the conclusions. For an example, and now I give the example, all men are mortal. This is one of the meaningful sentences or premise. Aristotle is a man. So what is the conclusion? Aristotle is mortal. So that is what we are just talking about. So argument means all three together. The premises as well as the conclusion all put together is the argument. So the argument should establish a connection between the premises and the conclusion. The first two sentences, all men are mortal. Aristotle is a man. These two premises leads to very important conclusion or the possible conclusion, namely Aristotle is mortal. I hope you understood this. Based on the two premises in the beginning, the third conclusion automatically comes. No, this is called a deductive argument actually, but later on we are going to talk about it. Anyway, this is what we are talking about here. Logical inference. Based on the two premises, the conclusion comes. Yeah, I hope you understood this. Then the premise should be clear. Clarity should be there. The conclusion should be expressed clearly and should not be open to multiple interpretations. Then it should be certain. The level of certainty or probability in the conclusion should be consistent with the premises. Overstating or understating the conclusion can weaken the argument. Then validity. Validity is a critical concept in logical reasoning. An argument is considered valid if it has a logical structure such that if the premises are true, the conclusion must also be true. In other words, the conclusion follows necessarily from the premises. Validity. That's called validity. Soundness. While validity is about the logical structure of an argument, soundness adds the element of truth. An argument is considered sound if it is both valid and all of the premises are true. For example, the same example we will be taking. All men are mortal. That's true. That premise is very true. Alexander or Aristotle is a man. That is also true. Right? True statement. Premises are true. So, what is the conclusion? Aristotle is mortal. So, the entire argument is valid and the premises are true. That is what we are talking about here, soundness. In other words, a sound argument is one in which the structure is valid and the information provided in the premises is accurate. In the example I have given you, the premises are true, accurate, and the conclusion also is very true, certain. By all means it is correct. That is the idea here. So this is called a logical inference, the soundness of the argument. Sound arguments are strong, reliable and convincing. So in the example, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, Aristotle is mortal, sound argument, they are very strong, reliable and convincing. Nobody will doubt this, isn't it? So this is called a logical inference, in other words, soundness of the argument. Then common argument forms. Let us analyze some of the common argument forms. Various argument forms are commonly used in logical reasoning, each with its distinct structure and rules. Some of the most prevalent forms include deductive arguments. What do you mean by deductive argument? In deductive arguments, the conclusion necessarily follows from the premises. For an example, the same example I am giving you, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, Aristotle is mortal. That is the conclusion. Just to see, this is called a deductive argument. The conclusion, that is Aristotle is mortal, follows from the above two premises, namely all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man. They are also true premises. Based on that, you are having the conclusion. Automatically it follows from those two premises, namely all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man. From that the conclusion is evolving, isn't it? So this is called a deductive argument. No doubt at all in this argument. Everything is so nice. Everything is so true. That is the idea here. The classic example is a syllogism, where two premises lead to a specific conclusion. Another word given to this argument is syllogism. All three put together is called a syllogism. In logic we call it syllogism. The classic example is a syllogism where two premises lead to a specific conclusion. For instance, all humans are mortal. Socrates is a human, therefore Socrates is mortal. As I already told you, everything follows nicely. No? This is called syllogism. Two premises with the specific conclusion. It is called syllogism in logic. Inductive arguments. Inductive arguments aim to provide portable support to support for a conclusion. Inductive arguments aim to provide portable, probable support for a conclusion. They rely on generalization, analogy, and statistical reasoning. So, see, it is different from deductive argument. We will give examples, you will understand this. Inductive arguments aim to provide probable support for a conclusion. They rely on generalization, analogy, or statistical reasoning. What does this mean? For example, 90% of the observed swans are white. Therefore, it is probable that the next swan observed will be white. You see that here only probability, it is not very certain. Very true. No, we are not very, we don't know. We only assume that it is true. 90% of the observed swans are white, that we know. The next swan observed will be white. It's a probability only, analogy, generalization is sort of statistical reasoning because 90% of the swans are white. So the next swan should be white, Based on the statistical reasoning, we come to a conclusion. So such arguments are called inductive. I hope you understood this. Once you have understood this, the entire logic you will understand, that's all. So the inductive arguments aim to provide probable support for a conclusion. Here you see the example, 90% of the observed swans are white. So just because it is 90%, almost all the swans should be white. No, that is the conclusion you are trying to arrive at, isn't it? So this is how you do that. This is called the inductive arguments. So they aim to provide probable support for a conclusion. Yeah. Then objective argument. There is another variety called objective arguments. When you go to a doctor, he is asking for what has happened to your health. Then you are giving certain indications. See, I am having pain in the shoulder, I am having pain, in the knee, like that knee joint, something like you are saying. So you don't know exactly what is happening to you, the type of disease you are having, sickness you are having. The doctor examines you based on his own understanding of the various. He goes through his experience as a doctor, and then he finds, okay, this man is having this type of sickness. He arrives at particular conclusion. I hope you understood this. So when you go to a doctor, he asks for the reasons why you have come, and he was just saying this. Based on what you have said, he tries to put it into some disease, some sickness, because he is a doctor, he has studied about it, so he is able to understand your sickness so easily. This is called objective reasoning. See, it involves drawing the best possible explanation from the available evidence. It is commonly used in scientific and detective work, especially in detective, the police, CIDs and all, Sherlock Holmes, for example. So his stories are based on this type of objective arguments, detective work. So objective reasoning involves drawing the best possible explanation from the available evidence. Available evidence, as a sick person you are giving. So you are saying that my shoulders are giving pain, my chest is giving pain, and I have some itching all over the body, something like you are saying. Based on these symptoms, he is able to understand what type of sickness you are having. The doctor is able to understand it. Have you got this point? So this is called objective reasoning, drawing the best possible explanation from the available evidence. Right. For instance, the window is broken and there are footprints leading away from the scene. It is most likely that someone broke in. This is, from the available evidence you come to a conclusion. It may not be true also, but then, given the evidence there, you come to a conclusion. The window is broken. There are footprints leading away from the scene. So it is most likely that someone broke in. I mean, someone has entered into a room, or a thief has entered into a room. So this is called objective, objective argument, right? So as concluding remarks, we can say like this: the structure of arguments in logical reasoning is the framework that allows us to analyze, evaluate, and construct rational arguments. A clear understanding of premises, conclusions, validity, soundness, and common argument forms is essential for critical thinking and effective communication. By recognizing the elements of a well-structured argument, we can better discern the strength of reasoning and make informed decisions based on logical principles. Get a general meaning, that's enough. Logical reasoning is a valuable skill in academia, professional life, and everyday problem solving, making it a vital area of study and practice. Now, let us talk about or analyze fallacies. What are fallacies? Fallacies are a very important term in logic. What do you mean by fallacy in logic? Logical fallacies are common errors in reasoning that can lead to incorrect conclusions. Recognizing and avoiding fallacies is crucial for constructing and evaluating strong argument. So, we need to understand fallacy in logic, then only we can construct, evaluate strong argument. So, what is a fallacy? It is a common error in reasoning that can lead to incorrect conclusions. Right. Whether through deductive, inductive, objective, or analogical reasoning, mastering the structure of arguments is a cornerstone of rational thought and informed decision making. That is the importance of logic. Whatever may be the type of reasoning you are having, through deductive, inductive, objective, or analogical reasoning, we need to understand the structure of arguments. That is the cornerstone of rational thought and informed, enlightened decision making. Now, some of the questions we can analyze. What is the conclusion of an argument? The premise that supports the argument, the main idea or point the argument is trying to prove, an irrelevant statement, the counter argument. What is the conclusion of an argument? That is the main idea or point the argument is trying to prove. For example, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man. These two premises should lead to the correct conclusion, namely Aristotle is mortal. So that is the idea here. That is the main idea or the point the argument is trying to prove. So the conclusion of an argument is the main idea or point the argument is trying to prove. I hope you understood this. Now, which of the following is not a type of logical fallacy? There are some important concepts as such. With regard to fallacies, there are certain names. We must understand what it is. Like ad hominem, slippery slope, strong argument, false dilemma, or logical fallacies. And of course, there are a lot of questions available here. We can understand it one by one. Now, in this question, which of the following is not a type of logical fallacy? Now, ad hominem, slippery slope, false dilemma, they are all fallacies. But strong argument is not a fallacy. Strong argument means it's the correct one, true one. As we have said it in the example, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, so Aristotle is mortal. So it's a strong argument. So it is not a fallacy, very correct. I hope you understood this. So in this question, which of the following is not a type of logical fallacy? That is strong argument. A strong argument is not a type of logical fallacy. It is important to distinguish, make a difference between fallacy and a valid argument. Now, what is the purpose of a premise in an argument? the statement, no, the meaningful statement. What is the purpose of a premise in an argument? For an example, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, or premises, two premises, isn't it? So, what is the purpose of these premises? A. To provide evidence or support for the conclusion. B. To confuse the reader. C. To distract from the main point. D. To restate the conclusion. What is the correct one? By this time you would have found out. To provide evidence or support for the conclusion. All men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, Aristotle is mortal. So these two premises give evidence to the conclusion, namely Aristotle is mortal. He is also, he is a man, no? So all men will die. Aristotle is a man, so Aristotle will die one day. I think you understood this, the premise, conclusion, everything, I suppose. So, what is the purpose of a premise in an argument? That is to provide evidence or support for the conclusion. That is their purpose. Premises or statements or evidence that support the conclusion in an argument. Which of the following is an example of a straw man fallacy? A very particular type of fallacy. We must understand the meaning of this. Let us analyze what it is. Which of the following is an example of a straw man fallacy? A. Refuting the opponent's argument with evidence and logic. B. Misrepresenting the opponent's argument and attacking the misrepresentation. C. Ignoring the opponent's argument entirely. D. Admitting the strengths of the opponent's argument. What is the example of a straw man fallacy? That is, a straw man misinterpreting the opponent's argument and attacking the misrepresentation. See, the opponent is saying something. The person who hears that misinterprets that, right? Then, after misinterpreting, taking that misrepresentation as true, he attacks the misrepresentation. I hope you understood this. A straw man fallacy occurs when one misrepresents an opponent's argument and attacks the misrepresented version rather than the actual argument. So there is an actual argument is there. This fellow takes it in a wrong sense, and then taking it as a wrong sense, he is arguing with the opponent. You got the point? So, see, the actual discussion is something else, but this fellow misinterprets or misrepresents the argument, and based on the misrepresentation, he is arguing again. He is fighting with the opponent. This is called a straw man fallacy. I hope you understood this. In Tamil also we will be saying so, right? What is a valid argument? A. An argument that is factually accurate. B. An argument that uses emotional appeals. C. An argument in which the conclusion logically follows from the premises. D. An argument that is based on personal opinions. What is that? A valid argument. So, the same example I am giving you, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, Aristotle is mortal, right? From the above two premises, the conclusion, Aristotle is mortal comes. This is called a valid argument, valid argument. So, what is the correct answer? An argument in which the conclusion logically follows from the premises. All men are mortal, Aristotle is a man. From these two premises, the conclusion logically follows. Aristotle is mortal. Mortal means one who dies, sometime. So that is the idea. I hope you understood. So a valid argument is one where the conclusion logically follows from the premises. Right. What is the difference between deductive and inductive reasoning? A. Deductive reasoning uses specific premises to make a general conclusion, while inductive reasoning uses a general principle to make a specific conclusion. B. Deductive reasoning uses general premises to make a specific, of course, everything is there. Just see for yourself. Let us analyze exactly what we need to do. What is the answer here? What is deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning? If you know the meaning of that, immediately you will find out. However, the sentences are long, you will be able to understand the correct answer. Deductive reasoning uses specific premises to make a general conclusion. So it starts from examples to to make a truth, in other words. While inductive reasoning uses a general principle to make a specific conclusion. That is the idea. Yeah, so inductive reasoning uses a general principle to make a specific conclusion. So that's the idea. Deductive reasoning uses specific premises to make a general conclusion, while inductive reasoning uses a general principle to make a specific conclusion. All men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, that is deductive reasoning. Uses specific premises to make a general conclusion. Right. Inductive reasoning, you can just have an example. 90% of the observed swans are white. This is a general principle, right? From that you go to the specific conclusion, namely the next swan must be white. That is specific conclusion. From the general principle, namely 90% of the observed swans are white. That's the general principle. So just because it is 90%, the next swan should be white. So that way you come to a specific conclusion. This is called inductive reasoning. Already we have seen that. Use those examples to understand these concepts. What is a red herring fallacy? Red herring fallacy. What do you mean by this red herring fallacy? This is another type of fallacy. A fallacy that involves using a false premise. B, a fallacy that diverts attention from the main issue with the irrelevant information. C, a fallacy that involves a circular reasoning. D, a fallacy that relies on emotional appeals. So what is a red herring fallacy? It is a fallacy that diverts attention from the main issue with the irrelevant information. See, there is an argument between two people, for an example, on a particular point. So, the person who is quarreling with another person, you won't see the main issue. When he is asked or questioned, he will not ask directly answer directly the question. Rather, he will blame the person. The other day you did like that. So see, the main issue will be diverted here. See that last year what did you do to me? In the month of June, what you did to me? Like that, he goes on arguing like that without entering into the main issue. This is called a red herring fallacy. A red herring fallacy. That is a fallacy that diverts attention from the main issue with irrelevant information. A red herring fallacy is a diversionary tactic. Diversion tactic means deviation from the truth, deviating from the truth. A red herring fallacy is a diversionary tactic that introduces irrelevant information to distract from the main argument. That's the idea here. Now, which of the following is a valid syllogism? I think you will be able to understand here. Just see for yourself what is the correct one. Valid syllogism. A. All cats are mammals. Flubby is a mammal. Therefore, Flubby is a cat. All dogs are animals. All cats are animals. Therefore, all cats are dogs. All birds can fly. Penguins cannot fly. Therefore, penguins are not birds. All students are teachers, all teachers are scientists, therefore all students are scientists. Which is the correct one? See, what is the valid syllogism? All cats are mammals. Flubby is a mammal. So, Flubby is a cat. It follows rightly, no? All cats are mammals. Flubby is a mammal. That means, Flubby is a cat. Nicely follows, isn't it? This syllogism follows a valid form. It's a valid syllogism. I hope you understood this. Now, what is the fallacy of begging the question? This is another type of fallacy. What is the fallacy of begging the question? We will see what it is. A. Assuming the conclusion is true in the premises. B. Asking too many questions in an argument. C. Avoiding the main question. D. Making a persuasive argument. So, what is the fallacy of begging the question? That is assuming the conclusion is true in the premises. So, that is assuming the conclusion is true in the premises. So, begging the question occurs when one assumes the truth of the conclusion in the premises itself. So, that is the point. You see, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, so Aristotle is mortal. Then that is a valid argument. Whereas, suppose a person takes all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, only there he stands. He assumes the truth of the conclusion in the premises. Aristotle is a man, so all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, so Aristotle is human. Suppose he says like that. Then he assumes the truth of the conclusion in the premises. No, that is not the correct conclusion. No, so that is called begging the question. Begging the question occurs when one assumes the truth of the conclusion in the premises. One of the premises he takes it to be true. Without seeing the conclusion, he sees one of the premises as valid, as true. So that is the point here. That is called begging the question. There is one type of fallacy. Now, which of the following is an example of a non-sequitur fallacy? These are all Latin names, perhaps. Probably they keep it. It's a technical terms in logic, So those who are in logic, we must know. That's all. There is a meaning for all such terms, and we need to know that. Which of the following is an example of a non-sequitur fallacy? A. If it is raining, then the ground is wet. The ground is wet, therefore it is raining. If it is raining, then the ground is wet. The ground is wet, therefore it is raining. Right? Then all men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Bob likes a pizza, therefore Bob must be a good basketball player. If you study, you will do well on the test. You didn't study, therefore you will do well on the test. What should be the correct answer? That is example of a non-sequitur fallacy. What does this mean? That is Bob likes a pizza, therefore Bob must be a good basketball player. How can you do that? How can you come to this conclusion? Just because Bob likes a pizza, can he become a good basketball player? Suppose you conclude like this, then you are having this fallacy, namely a non-sequitur fallacy. Right? A non-sequitur fallacy involves drawing a conclusion that does not logically follow from the premises, as in the case of Bob liking pizza and being a good basketball player, which are unrelated concepts. See, if you are having unrelated concepts in the conclusion, then you must be having a non-sequitur fallacy. I hope you understood this. Now, what is the conclusion in an argument? A premise that supports another premise. B, a statement that provides evidence. C, the main point or claim the argument is trying to make. D, a statement that introduces the topic. What is the correct answer? That is the main point or claim the argument is trying to make. So the conclusion is the main point or claim that the argument is trying to make. So all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, Aristotle is mortal. You see, the conclusion is the main point or claim that the argument is trying to make. That is, argument is the two premises, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man. That argument is trying to make the conclusion, namely Aristotle is mortal. That is the main point, isn't it? So the conclusion is the main point or claim that the argument is trying to make. It is the ultimate purpose of the argument, right? What is the purpose of these two premises? In order to, come to a conclusion like this, ultimate purpose. In order to come to the main point. Aristotle is mortal, that is the main point. I hope you understood this. So, what is the conclusion in an argument? That is, the main point or claim the argument is trying to make. That is the conclusion. Now, which of the following is an example of a deductive argument? Which of the following is an example of a deductive argument? A. Most dogs are friendly. Philo is a dog, therefore Philo is friendly. B. The weather forecast predicts rain tomorrow, so I am bringing my umbrella. See, every time I eat pizza, I feel happy. Pizza must be the key to happiness. All politicians are dishonest. Maria is a politician, therefore Maria is dishonest. So which should be the right one? Example of deductive argument. We have marked D. Why? All politicians are dishonest. Maria is a politician, so automatically it follows Maria is dishonest. Like all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, Aristotle is mortal. Here also it follows the same thing. All politicians are dishonest. Maria is a politician, therefore Maria is dishonest. So in a deductive argument, the conclusion logically follows from the premises. The given example is a deductive argument. I hope you are understanding all these concepts so easily. Now, which type of fallacy occurs when someone attacks the person making the argument rather than the argument itself? Which type of fallacy occurs when someone attacks the person making the argument rather than the argument itself? He is having some enmity with the person. So he is not arguing with the points he is making, rather he is fighting with the person himself. That is the idea here. What type of fallacy is that? Drawman fallacy, ad hominem fallacy, slippery slope fallacy, hasty generalization fallacy. So this is ad hominem fallacy, B. The ad hominem fallacy is when someone attacks the person making the argument rather than addressing the argument's content. Somebody is arguing with some point. This fellow is forgetting that point, simply is fighting with the person. No? That is the idea. The ad hominem fallacy is when someone attacks the person with some scoldings or anything, making the argument rather than addressing the argument's content. I hope you understood this. So he just diverts his attention from the main point. He is fighting with the person himself. This is called ad hominem fallacy. I hope you understood this. What is the purpose of an analogy in an argument? That is, analogy means comparison. Comparison. What is the purpose of an analogy in an argument? A. To provide a counter argument. B. To make the argument more confusing. C. To show the similarity between two different things. D. To present a conclusion without evidence. As I already told you, the meaning of analogy is comparison. Right? So if that is the case, the C is the correct answer. To show similarity between two different things. Comparison, in other words. So an analogy is used to show the similarity between two different things, making it easier to understand and accept the argument. Now, what is a counter argument in an argument structure? Counter argument in an argument structure. A statement that supports the main conclusion. B. A statement that weakens the argument's conclusion. C. A statement that introduces a new topic. D. A statement that serves as the main premise. So I hope you understood this. No? See, the counter argument. See, the valid argument means what? Aristotle, all men are mortal. Aristotle is a man. Aristotle is mortal. Now, if you add one more premise, for an example, something else. All men are mortal. Aristotle is a man. Aristotle is a great person. Something like, it will not lead to the valid argument. This is a counter argument in a way. You are adding something new, and then it doesn't give the valid conclusion. That is the idea here. What is a counter argument in an argument structure? A statement that weakens the argument's conclusion. That is the idea here. A counter argument is a statement that weakens the argument's conclusion by presenting an opposing viewpoint or evidence. All men are mortal. Aristotle is a man. Aristotle is an animal sometimes. Suppose you are saying like that, you are weakening the argument. That is the idea here. I hope you understood this. So, what is the counter argument in an argument structure? That is, a counter argument is a statement that weakens the argument's conclusion by presenting an opposing viewpoint. All men are mortal, Aristotle is a man. Aristotle can be sometimes animal. Suppose we say one more premise like that. Certainly, it would not lead to the correct conclusion. There is a confusion here. So, a counter argument is a statement that weakens the argument's conclusion by presenting an opposing viewpoint or evidence. Which of the following is an example of an inductive argument? Which of the following is an example of an inductive argument? All men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. So, is this an inductive argument? No, it is actually deductive argument, we have seen that. The second one, I have observed 5 swans and they were all white, therefore all swans are white. Right? This is exactly inductive argument. You observed 5 swans, they were all white, so all the swans should be white. If you come to a conclusion like that, that is what is that? That is called an inductive argument. I hope you understood this, no? So the other things are immaterial, of course, it will have other types, but then here, the example of an inductive argument. So the B is the right one. I have observed 5 swans, they were all white. So that means all swans are white. Need not be, but then you conclude like that. From the statement, that is, I have observed 5 swans. From your experience of seeing 5 swans, you conclude that all the 5 swans are white. In a pond, you see 5 swans, they were all white. So you tend to think that all swans are white. Need not be, need not be sometimes. So this is called a inductive argument. It is only probability. Probable. It may happen or it may not happen, but this is one of the argument structure, inductive argument. Okay, inductive argument also we need, especially in scientific inventions and all. And detective agencies and all will have this type of inductive arguments rather. So that's the idea here. Inductive arguments use specific observations to make a general conclusion. So there are specific observations like that. For example, another example I will be giving, somebody puts his hand into a bag of coins. He takes the first coin, that seems to be 2 rupee coin. And again he takes another coin, that is also 2 rupee coin. The third, fourth, fifth coin, everything comes, 2 rupee coin. So after some 10 attempts, he comes to, he says that the bag, all the coins in the bag are 2 rupee coins. You got the point? See, the bag full of 2 rupee coins, we don't know, coins are there. But the first 6 coins he takes are 2 rupee coins. So he comes to a conclusion that all the coins in the bag are 2 rupee coin. This is called inductive argument. So inductive arguments use specific observations to make a general conclusion. The given example is an inductive argument. What fallacy occurs when someone presents a limited number of options and falsely claims they are the only ones available? I hope you understood the point, no? Someone presents a limited number of options. These are the tools, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only that much. And then falsely claim that they are the only ones available. And there are 5 statements you make as if they are true. But it may be more than that also. No? But somebody says only these 5 options are available, not anything else. Suppose somebody says like that, what type of fallacy is this? So there are 4 fallacies given here. False dichotomy fallacy, circular reasoning fallacy, red herring fallacy, post hoc fallacy. What is this? This is called a false dichotomy fallacy. That is, someone presents a limited number of options There may be more also, but then this fellow says, no, only these 5 are the only options available. So, there is a fallacy here, isn't it? There may be more, options, but this fellow says only 5 options. So, he is limiting himself, falsely limiting, in other words, falsely claiming that there are only 5 options. I hope you understood this. So, this is called false dichotomy fallacy. The false dichotomy fallacy occurs when only a limited number of options are presented, and it is falsely claimed that they are the only ones available, not anything else. So, this is called a false dichotomy fallacy. What is the purpose of evidence in an argument? What is the purpose of an evidence in an argument? A. To introduce the topic. B. To support the main conclusion. C. To present a counter argument. D. To attack the person making the argument. So, what is the purpose of evidence in an argument? That is, the purpose of evidence in an argument is to support the main conclusion or claim. As I already told you, that example, all men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, right? So, these are all evidence actually. All men are mortal, everyone knows it, and Aristotle is a man. So, this gives an evidence to the conclusion, namely, Aristotle is mortal. I hope you understood. That is the purpose of evidence, right? So, the purpose of evidence in an argument is to support the main conclusion or claim. What is the role of a warrant in an argument structure? Warrant. A. It provides background information. B. It is a statement of fact. C. It connects the evidence to the conclusion. D. It is the main claim or point of the argument. What is the role of a warrant in an argument structure? That is C. It connects the evidence to the conclusion. That is the warrant in an argument. In other words, the demand is there. The very fact that it is a truth, it leads to the conclusion. All men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, Aristotle is mortal. The role of a warrant, in an argument. So, it connects the evidence to the conclusion. The warrant in an argument connects the evidence or premises to the conclusion by explaining how the evidence supports the conclusion. All men are mortal, Aristotle is a man. So, you see the evidences, that supports the conclusion Aristotle is mortal. So, the warrant in an argument connects the evidence or premises to the conclusion by explaining how the evidence supports the conclusion. Now, what is the conclusion in an argument? I have already said that. That is, the conclusion in an argument is the point the argument is trying to prove. The conclusion in an argument is the main point that the argument is trying to prove. It is the central claim or thesis. Which of the following is a valid argument form? Valid argument form. Modus ponens is another type of argument. Ad hominem, straw man, slippery slope. The fallacies, everything is here. Now, modus ponens. What is modus ponens? Modus ponens is a valid deductive argument. From that follows the structure. What is that structure? If P, then Q. P is true, therefore Q is true. You see that is the structure. If P, then Q. P is true, therefore Q is true. P is true, so Q is true. That is the idea. That is called modus ponens. As I see all these examples, these are all concepts in logic. We need to know that. They may be asking this, yes. So, what is modus ponens? Which of the following is a valid argument? Modus ponens is a valid argument. How? It follows the structure. That is, if P, then Q. P is true, then Q is true. See that this is called modus ponens, valid deductive argument, right? What is a fallacy in an argument in general? What is the meaning of fallacy? What is a fallacy in an argument? A. Strong, well-supported claim. B. A persuasive anecdote. C. A mistake in reasoning or argumentation. D. A rhetorical flourish. So what is the correct answer? A mistake in reasoning or argumentation. What is a fallacy in an argument? It is a mistake in reasoning or argumentation. That is called fallacy. A fallacy is in an argument is a mistake in reasoning or argumentation that can weaken the argument's validity. Which of the following is an example of a circular argument? There is another type called circular argument. Often questions are asked in circular argument. We must know what it is. There will be so many examples also. Let us analyze all these things. Which of the following is an example of a circular argument? A. I know that the book is true. The book is true because it says so in the book. Is where you start, where you are ending, again you are starting. So that is called a cyclic, I suppose, right? So that is the right answer. The other things are okay, other distractions. The research supports the hypothesis, therefore the hypothesis is correct. If it is rainy, the ground will be wet. There are another types maybe, another types of arguments. But see the A1. What is a cyclic argument? That is, I know the book is true. Why? Because it says so in the book. You see that where you are ending, you are starting again. I know that the book is true. Why? Because it says so in the book. You see that this type of arguments called circular arguments. I suppose you understand this. A circular argument is one in which the conclusion is simply a restatement of the premises. Right? A circular argument is one in which the conclusion is simply a restatement of the premises, as in option A. I hope you understand this, no? I know that the book is true, okay, the premise, and then again you are saying the same thing. It says so in the book, right? So that way, a circular argument is one in which the conclusion is simply a restatement of the premises, as in option A. Right. What is the purpose of counter argument in an argument? We have already seen that. That is to undermine, to weaken the main conclusion. That is called counter argument. We already explained that counter arguments are used to challenge or undermine or weaken the main conclusion of an argument. In an inductive argument, which of the following is true? In an inductive argument, which of the following is true? A. The conclusion is guaranteed to be true. Guaranteed means by all means it should be true. Categorically it must be true. By all means it should be true. Now that is a deductive argument. It is not inductive argument. So the conclusion is guaranteed to be true means that is a deductive argument, not inductive argument. By all means it should be true. That is called guaranteed. Okay, see the B option. The conclusion is based on probability and evidence. See, the conclusion always follows logically from the premise. So, okay, the conclusion is unrelated to the premises. These are all distractions. C, the B, that is this one, no? B, the conclusion is based on probability and evidence. Right. Now, as we already seen, 90% of the observed swans are white. Right. So that is evidence, okay. 90%, no, so much, almost 90% of the swans which you see are white. So the next swan should be white, okay. So that is the idea. So here the conclusion is based on probability and evidence, right. All swans, which I see are white. So the next swan should be the swan, there or somewhere else should be white. That is how you come to a conclusion. So probability and evidence, right? So in an inductive argument, the conclusion is based on probability and evidence, not a guarantee of truth, not a certain truth. By all means, it cannot be a truth, but from the evidence you come to know. As I already told you, the coins in the back, are all 2 rupee coin. How do you say that? You take some 10 coins all the 10 coins you have taken are 2 rupee coins. Just because all the 10 coins are 2 rupee coins, you come to a conclusion that all the coins in the bag should be 2 rupee coins. So can you say that based on evidence you are the probable conclusion you are having? It is not a guarantee of truth, right? It may not be true also. There may be 1 or 2 1 rupee coin, who knows? But from the evidence which you have, which you experience, you are just saying that all the coins in the bag are 2 rupee coin. So, in an inductive argument, the conclusion is based on probability and evidence, not a guarantee of truth. What is a syllogism in the structure of an argument? What is a syllogism in the structure of an argument? A type of fallacy, a rhetorical device, a deductive argument with 2 premises and a conclusion. There should be three things: 2 premises, 1 conclusion. All put together is syllogism. That is called syllogism in the structure of an argument. I hope you understood this. Syllogism means 2 premises and 1 conclusion. 3, right? So a deductive argument with the 2 premises and a conclusion. All men are mortal, Aristotle is a man, 2 premises, and then conclusion. Aristotle is mortal. So all put together, all these 3 statements, form syllogism. One syllogism. I hope you understood this. A syllogism is a specific form of deductive argument with 2 premises and a conclusion. That is called a syllogism. Right. Next question: which of the following is an example of a red herring fallacy? We already seen that. What is red herring fallacy? Now, which should be the scientific evidence overwhelmingly supports theory of evolution. First statement. I can't believe you are criticizing my cooking when you never do the dishes. See, if you don't take action now, the economy will collapse. The weather forecast says it will rain tomorrow, so we should bring umbrellas. Now, which should be the right one? Red herring fallacy. Instead of arguing on the specific point, you are diverting your attention to something else. Just see, the option B. I can't believe you are criticizing my cooking when you never do the dishes. Instead of concentrating on the criticism, and he is just diverting that, from the main point. He is diverting from the main point, and then he is telling the person, you have never done the dishes, but you are criticizing. See, he is not worried about the reason why his cooking is bad. You got the point, no? So that is B is the right answer. Why? Because he just blames the other person without attacking the real problem. So that is the point here. That is called a red herring fallacy. I can't believe you are criticizing my cooking when you never do the dishes. So this comes under the example of a red herring fallacy. So the red herring fallacy is a diversion tactic that introduces an unrelated issue to distract from the main argument as seen in option B. So the power has gone, anyway it will be restored soon, I suppose. Which type of fallacy occurs when a cause is incorrectly identified for an effect? Which type of fallacy occurs when a cause is incorrectly identified for an effect? A. Strawman fallacy. B. False analogy fallacy. C. Post hoc fallacy. D. Appeal to authority fallacy. Which type of fallacy occurs when a cause is incorrectly identified for an effect? That is post hoc fallacy. What does this mean? The post hoc fallacy occurs when someone incorrectly assumes that because one event follows another, the first event caused the second event. Do you understand what is this? I think you need to reflect on this. Which type of fallacy occurs when a cause is incorrectly identified for an effect? So, 2 things happen, yes. The first thing he observes, the post hoc fallacy says, when someone incorrectly assumes that because one event follows another, two events follow one after another. Just because one event follows another, the first event causes the second event. He comes to a wrong conclusion. Not necessarily two events happen, yes, but the second one is the cause of the first one. So someone comes to that type of conclusion. That is called the post hoc fallacy. So post hoc fallacy occurs when someone incorrectly assumes that because one event follows another, the first event caused to the second event. I hope you understood this. Now, what is the fallacy of composition in an argument? Fallacy of composition. There is another type of fallacy. A. Assuming that what is true for one part is true for the whole. B. Assuming that what is true for the whole is true for one part. C. Arguing based on popular opinion using a valid deductive argument. Now, what is the correct answer? What is the fallacy of composition? Assuming that what is true for one part is true for the whole. Right? So, that is the idea here. Now, what is true for one part is true for the whole. The fallacy of composition occurs when someone incorrectly assumes that what is true for one part of a whole is also true for the entire whole. Of course, you understood this. What fallacy involves presenting a weak argument and then claiming victory when the opponent can't fully refute it? Which fallacy involves presenting a weak argument and then claiming victory when the opponent can't fully refute it? False dichotomy, red herring, straw man fallacy, slippery slope. This is a straw man fallacy. What does this mean? The straw man fallacy involves misrepresenting an opponent's argument and then attacking the misrepresented argument, making it easier to refute. So, deviating from the main point and then attacking the, another point. So, that is the idea here. Straw man fallacy involves misrepresenting the opponent's argument. Argument is misunderstood. Now, this misunderstanding, you take it and then this fellow arguing on the misunderstanding, attacking the misrepresented argument. So that is the idea here. Straw man fallacy, empty man fallacy like, that is the idea here. So, which fallacy involves presenting a weak argument and then claiming victory when the opponent can't fully refute it. Right? The straw man fallacy involves misrepresenting opponent's argument and then attacking the misrepresented argument, making it easier to refute. What is an example of a slippery slope fallacy in an argument? Slippery slope fallacy. What does this mean? If we ban one type of weapon, we will have to ban all weapons and then we will have no means of self-defense. So that's the correct one here. What is the question? A slippery slope fallacy in an argument is an example. If we ban one type of weapon, we will have to ban all weapons and then we will have no means of self-defense. You see how, you are arguing from one point to another point without no reason, without no evidence. You ban one type of weapon, that's all right. If we ban one type of weapon, we will have to ban all weapons. Who said that? You claim that, you have to ban all weapons. And then we will have no means of self-defense. So, that is the right answer here. That is called a slippery slope fallacy. What do you mean by slippery slope fallacy? The slippery slope fallacy occurs when an argument suggests that a relatively small first step inevitably leads to a chain of reactions of negative consequences. One thing happened and then immediately you tend to say one type of weapons is banned, yes. And then you say this type of weapons is banned, then all type of weapons are banned. Then you will not have any weapon to safeguard yourself. So you are just based on the first statement, you are going on building up false statements after that. The slippery slope fallacy occurs when an argument suggests that a relatively small first step will inevitably lead to a chain reaction of negative consequences. That is called that even without sufficient evidence to support this claim. I hope you understood this. Dear friends, we have finished some important ideas. With this we will finish this video. We will be starting next video other points, because these are all very important points. A little difficult to understand, not difficulty as such. You need to reflect on each and every concept and then internalize it. For that reason, we will finish this video with these points, and we will cover other points in the next videos, so that you are able to get into the concept so nicely in this video. God bless you abundantly. Let us meet in other video lectures. Kindly subscribe if you like my videos. God bless you abundantly.